I'm Bill McCartney and we're back on Rottnest Island for race 2 of the Prudential Superannuation Challenge for 18-foot skiffs. The first heat yesterday was won in convincing style by Xerox. Warwick Rooklin, our expert commentator, is with us again, and Warwick, Prudential once again have their backs up against the wall.
Yeah, it's certainly been a hard season for Rob Brown, but I don't know if there's much he can do about it. Barnett is just so quick and so confident. I think he's just going to take this title.
The skiffs are in start mode for race 2. And once again, absolutely splendid weather. And at the top end of the picture, we see Ella Bachet pulling off a Swifty here. Coming through at the top end of the picture is Ella Bachet on a port tack with no rights, but she was so well positioned that she crossed ahead of the rest of them as the gun went, and she has stolen the start. What a bold move that was by Adrian Carlin. Xerox having to tack away and go out to the right-hand side as well. And of course we're on board with head cam on Xerox today, and Phil Barnett managing to cross ahead of Skilled Engineering there, so Xerox also out very nicely. Down below them, Prudential also in excellent shape.
There was a pretty gutsy start from young Adrian Carlin, and I think maybe Neil McDonald, the old Olympian who's in the crew there, may have made that call, but certainly she put about 15 seconds on the rest of the fleet within about 2, if that makes any sense. But Prudential just trailing Ella Bachet there. Xerox up to windward, and I believe in front of Prudential. Bank New Zealand in a bit of dirty air, but back on board with Xerox.
Gil, a bit more Cunningham's eye.
Adjusting the shape of the sail.
And looking as though they're travelling very nicely. And from up above, that's Xerox over out on the right. Coming back at them now is Ella Bachet, which had a lead of some 15-20 seconds just such a short time ago. Already Xerox has got right up to them. They're only now a matter of 10 seconds behind them. They tack underneath Ella Bachet, heading towards the top mark. Bank of New Zealand didn't seem to do quite so well out of the blocks there, Warwick.
No, they got a little bit buried. Ella Bachet certainly was the one that just stole the show there, and in fact they lead at this stage from Xerox, probably Prudential 3rd and Bank of New Zealand 4th. And the starts in these sprint Grand Prix circuit events are just so crucial. And you've got to get out of the blocks, you've got to get clean air and get up to that top mark in the first couple, or unless there's extraordinary circumstances, you're just not going to win.
The fleet very tightly bunched in behind the lead 3. Very, very little between the lead 3 as now Ella Bachet changes directions, figures, I guess, that she can make that top mark. They've been tacking up into the wind. Ella Bachet has a marginal lead, and look how quickly Phil Barnett's got Xerox right on their hammer.
And the acceleration there on Xerox is due to the good crew work on board that boat. It's not due to design, and they have got out of that turn and pulled back another half a boat length on Adrian Carlin and Ella Bachet. But I think Adrian will probably hang on. Yes, she does. She gets around the top mark in first position. She's been knocking on the door all year. Neil McDonald runs in, opens the spinnaker bag. Craig Ramsden pulls the spinnaker up to the top of the mast. Xerox comes around, and this is a battle of the crews right now. A good set on Ella Bachet, and here we go. A little wine glass on Xerox, and that means there's a little knot in the spinnaker, and Ella Bachet gets the upper hand on that manoeuvre.
A great opportunity here for Ella Bachet. Xerox jibes away, changes direction, goes out to the left-hand side of the course, and I think they've got a problem here. I think the wind direction has changed slightly. Prudential narrowly ahead of Bank of New Zealand in 3rd and 4th. Bank of New Zealand now going for the spinnaker set. Things a bit messy on the bank. I think they were forced up by Prudential, but all skiffs got a problem here. They've sailed up into the spectator fleet, and there's a great big fishing boat that's drifted right onto the course here, out ahead of these skiffs. A great big red fishing boat seems to have dragged its anchor right on the course, and that's why they're all having to change directions. It's chucked a tremendous amount of confusion into the racing, and we'll see how they emerge from this mess.
Yes, and this is what we've talked about all year, Bill. The lack of consistency on board of the Bank of New Zealand. I mean, one day they are just absolutely brilliant as Skilled Engineering elects to go right inside all the spectator boats. That trawler there is right in the middle of the fleet on the course, and the police were there to monitor all of this, but certainly one has slipped by their eyes.
And doing an excellent job. I must say that the cooperation from everybody over here at Rottnest Island, from the West Australian government departments through to all of the management people over here at Rottnest have done a great job. Xerox now approaching the wing mark, having to flog the spinnaker.
You're right, Dave. I've got to go faster. Right on it, Dave. You ready? Ready?
Getting ready for the jibe. Changed direction. They've got Ella Bachet in view, but I think Ella Bachet has slipped away a little bit.
Top ratchet! Go on, you got it, girl. That's it, just come out, Dave, and settle down.
Phil Barnett in control of Xerox. Ella Bachet leads. Now about 1/3 of the way through the second heat of the Prudential Superannuation Challenge. Bank of New Zealand struggling to get back up into the lead bunch, and indeed has been passed by Skilled Engineering. That big fishing boat in the middle of the fleet didn't do Scott Ramsden any good at all, and Skilled Engineering has now managed to sneak her nose slightly ahead of that of Bank of New Zealand, and both have caught right up to Prudential.
Look at this, the wheels are just absolutely falling off the boys on the Bank of New Zealand. They nearly won the race yesterday, made a mistake, and blew their chances there, and now, I mean, they're struggling around in the 5th position and look very sloppy indeed.
And Skilled Engineering just sails right away from them, did a much better jibe at that wing mark. Prudential again struggling for boat speed. They've just rounded that wing mark for the first time. They've already made their way up the course into the wind, rounded the top mark. Between the top mark and the wing mark, they caught up with the spectator fleet. They're on their way now down to the bottom mark. Xerox now starting to challenge the lead of Ella Bachet.
Cool, still leave it.
Breeze coming.
Yeah, roll, Gil, roll now. Roll early so we can get the height.
Talking about the actual angle that they want to take and the manoeuvres that they anticipate to do to get in front of Ella Bachet.
Prima Drinks has come adrift, coming down from that top mark to the wing mark. They got tangled up in the spectator fleet, and this is the unfortunate result.
Well, that's something they've been pretty used to all year, Bill.
Well, I wouldn't be too tough on them, Warwick. I mean, I think the team on board Prima have done very well, all things considered. They've had a real tough time keeping the boat together, and I must say about David Lamont, he has never stopped trying all season. I think you're being a bit tough on him.
Yeah, maybe so, but this is the top echelon of skiff sailing in the world, and you've got to get it together or you're just going to be out the back door as they've been. So it's certainly got to have a good hard look at their performance this year.
18 knots of boat speed on Bank of New Zealand, perhaps easing their way up to Skilled Engineering, currently in 4th position. 3rd position is Prudential up ahead in the red spinnaker. Prudential struggling to keep these guys out and slipping further and further behind the leaders and further away from this national circuit.
Yes, Rob Brown has seemed to have been caught up in the pack, and Tasmania naturally different. Andrew Dale's starting to get up there and mixing it with the rest of the fellas. And as they head down to get down to the bottom mark for the first time, Bank of New Zealand is trying to make up some of the ground they lost early, but Ella Bachet seems to be slipping to leeward.
We're well and truly over them now.
And indeed, Phil Barnett making the comment that they have been, there it is, the gap sideways is a significant thing there, because the skiffs have had to sail as high as possible with their spinnakers up because the mark is out to the left. Ella Bachet with less crew weight has been dragged off the course down towards the reefs over near the outer transit, and that, I think, will result in a change in the lead. Scott Ramsden also struggling to hold the line he wants to go, being dragged down off the course by a little bit too much pressure, the angle a little bit tight, and I don't think he's going all that flash on this leg either. Skilled Engineering has done extremely well to get up into 4th position. Andrew Davola having another excellent race.
Yes, and that's where the 280 kilos of crew weight on board the Xerox comes into play, and they've been able to sail closer to the desired course and actually overtaken Ella Bachet, where Adrian Carlin, probably weighing in at probably 20 odd 30 kilos less in total crew weight, has certainly suffered.
Wait for it.
Skilled Engineering doing very nicely, getting up there and mounting a challenge on Prudential as Xerox rounds the bottom mark in 1st. Ella Bachet slipped back to 2nd, but still doing a fine job.
Well, I really hope Adrian Carlin can get up there in this race. She's been knocking on the door of a victory on the national circuit all summer, and it would be fantastic for her and the crew if they could win a heat of the Prudential Superannuation Challenge here on Rottnest Island in the most beautiful waters that I've ever seen these machines sail on.
Yeah, you can't ask for better conditions than this. This is as good as anywhere in the world, and I've had been fortunate enough to sail in many places, and I've never seen anything better than this. Bank of New Zealand coming down to the bottom mark, electing to go for their spinnaker drop very late, and Skilled Engineering having gone for an early drop, just misjudging the angle a little bit and approaching the mark a little bit slowly, but certainly got up with the front-running pack.
And once again, Scott Ramsden up and down like a yo-yo. 1 minute he's doing a dreadful job, or the whole team did a dreadful job at that wing mark. Now they've been able to sail back over the top of skilled engineering and resume 4th position and sailing extremely well again. Coming around in 6th position now, Tasmania, naturally different, and Andrew Dale not hesitating to give that mark a damn good belt.
Andrew DeVola on board skilled engineering, a winner in Sydney. He's trying to get up there and get into the minor placings. Not a good tack on skilled. He needs to do a little bit better than that, but they've been getting better all year, and Andrew, I think, deserves to maintain his position and possibly get into a better campaign next year.
That's what the head cam looks like. Phil Barnett wearing the head cam, very graciously wearing the head cam. It adds a bit of weight, but the boys are always cooperative. These 18-foot skiff sailors are very fine people indeed. They cooperate. I've had some fantastic comments, Warwick, from the people on Rottnest Island about the sailors. They took a whole lot of people for a ride on the skiffs during our promotional day a couple of days ago, and I just got excellent feedback from everybody on it, and these young men are to be congratulated on the job they're doing as ambassadors for their sport.
Yeah, I think this is one of the wonderful things about the National Grand Prix circuit, is that the 18s are going to places where they are not normally sailed and where the people don't get an opportunity to normally see them or sail on them, so it's a great venue.
It certainly has proved so for Phil Barnett. He came into this season probably, in most people's opinion, likely to finish second to Rob Brown on board Prudential, but he has just sailed so well and thus has stamped himself as the #1 boat on the national circuit and on the verge of winning the whole thing here now. Elabash A, struggling to stay with Xerox, now has the battle to keep Prudential and Bank of New Zealand out and to hang on to 2nd position.
But look at the lead that Xerox has got. I mean, they are just opening up all the time and just leaving the rest in their wake.
Going down all the time here, Dave. It's a big header. Fucking lift to go back anyway.
Talking about the angle of the breeze.
We're going to tack and go back. It's down all the way.
Discussing tactics.
Somewhere here in the next 10.
So it's less than 10 seconds to attack.
Right, Dave? Right, let's go.
Tacking on board Xerox.
And a terrific example of the constant communication that goes on board these vessels as the crew feed information to the skipper about the strength and direction of the wind, which changes constantly, and he makes decisions according to that information. Looks as though Phil Barnett's getting pretty good information just at the moment.
Yeah, well, talking to Phil yesterday, he said that he's relying on his sheet hand a lot more for the information and the overall tactics and the scheme of things, and it's certainly working for him, because as the year has progressed, the tactics on board Xerox have been fantastic, equal to none.
Elabash A crossing through the crystal waters here at Rottnest Island, over weed patches, through sandy patches, a phenomenal colour, and on the west coast here off the coast near Perth, the colour of the water is quite different to elsewhere and very beautiful indeed. Prudential managing to hang on to her 3rd position at the moment. Bank of New Zealand within striking distance. They're now about halfway through the race, but they've sure got a job to do to catch up to Xerox at the top end up there. Elabash A, I think, gradually slipping out of contention in this race.
Yeah, so I don't know. The speed on board Elabash A has been quite good. They redesigned the hull, and that's obviously working for them. And also the rigs have been designed by Craig Ramsden, who has done a magnificent job and a seasoned campaigner. So I wouldn't discount them just yet.
The other guys are going back, and we can't let them go back either. We've got to sail Prudential, Davo.
On board again with Xerox.
I reckon we've got to go back. You ready?
Calling for attack on the basis that Prudential has tacked, and as Phil Barnett was just relating to his crew, Prudential is the skiff they want to beat. Rob Brown is the only skipper who can take this national circuit off the team on Xerox, but at the moment he's really struggling.
Yes, he's going to have to pull something out of the bag to get on top of this combination, because they are just sailing faultlessly at the moment. And the Premier Drinks at around about 8th position, I believe, trying to make their way up to the top mark.
Showing good boat speed here, and the crew haven't been together too long. There was disruption on the Prima with regard to the crew. These boys haven't been together too long. They're giving it their best shot. They're not too far off the pace at the moment, and we know that they'll continue trying throughout the event. David Lamond there steering, his 2nd season in 18-foot skiffs, having a bit of a battle.
And just watching them there, Bill, I mean, they just seem to be pulling strings. They're all looking up at the sails all the time. They're all talking. I mean, they're just not putting their heads down and getting on with the job. They'll be a lot better off on just letting the boat sail itself a little bit more and just concentrate on making the thing go through the water a bit better.
Approaching the top mark for the final time in Heat 2, Xerox leads Elabashe close behind second.
Back with the Prudential Superannuation Challenge out here on the waters of Rottnest Island, and Tip Top White High Five currently in 7th, and I think Andrew Cudahy will steer his boat up into a higher position than that by the end of the race. Just easing the jib a touch there. Elabashe still in 2nd with a good lead over Prudential and the Bank of New Zealand, and doing a fine job so far.
Let's go through the set of police boatways and then we'll jog.
Phil Barnett explaining to the boys where he wants to jibe. Here they go.
Let's go, let's get it on. And the mainsail, head till go though. Righto, good on Gilly.
So now the wind coming over their right-hand shoulders. Elabashe jibing behind them at the wing mark. They came round that top mark after the beat. Positions have not changed. Prudential still back in 3rd, still about 50 odd metres behind Elabashe. It will take just one mistake to get them up into 2nd, and by crikey, they need that at this stage.
Yes, they certainly do. They're not winning races. They need to be in 2nd position, and so far they're a distant 3rd, and they need to do a lot of work. In fact, they need a major mistake from Adrian Cullen on Elabashe to take 2nd position, I believe.
There's the gap from Bank of New Zealand 4th up to Prudential in 3rd position, and Prudential further down the course has picked a different angle to Bank of New Zealand in the hope, I think, of picking up Elabashe, and they may just be doing that job at the moment. Looking at that, it did appear to me that Prudential has a better angle to this bottom mark than Elabashe.
Quick, Davo. Gilly, go, 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 Gilly, go, get in the bag, go.
He's not going to let the boys relax.
Go. He's got it.
Pulling the jib on to round the bottom mark.
Well, there's no easing off of pressure there. Full total enthusiasm from the team, and problems on board Elabashe, trying to drop the spinnaker down at the bottom mark, and things a bit rough. We've seen this a few times this season. They've sailed past that bottom mark. They've opened up about 10 metres there, a great big hole for Prudential to sail straight into.
See, this I don't understand, Bill, because Craig Ramsden has just been such an experienced campaigner. He's steered 18-foot skiffs and done very well. He's won a world title with his brother, and I just don't understand making those sort of mistakes. I mean, the Bank of New Zealand does exactly the same thing there. I don't know whether the breeze has suddenly increased at the bottom mark and made it harder for them, but certainly a couple of them overshooting the bottom mark.
In this racing, it's so tight and tough that you make one mistake, 10 seconds of the race slips out the back door, and that's it, a position goes. And in a moment we'll see whether or not Rob Brown's been able to take advantage of that. Rounding the mark now, Andrew Dale skippering Tasmania Naturally Different. They've done well, they've stuck very nicely to those lead skiffs, and at the moment having a bit of a struggle with that spinnaker, getting it in the bag. The forward hand in a bit of strife, has been asked to come straight out onto the wings by Andrew. Oh, and he's gone in the drink. Over the side he goes. The forward hand on board Tasmania Naturally Different wasn't hooked up, and went to apply the weight over the side, and there was nothing hanging onto him.
Yes, that's a mistake that sometimes happens. It looks like he's injured. It looks like he's hurt his right shoulder or his right arm or something there, Bill.
That was bad luck for Tasmania Naturally Different, and I agree with that. I think the young man on board has hurt his shoulder and looked to be in a spot of bother. Bank of New Zealand struggling to hold out. Skilled Engineering for 4th position. Skilled Engineering challenging them for 4th position. And there's the gap. There's the gap as the champions on board Xerox get up towards the finish line in the 2nd heat. This will make it 2 out of 2. This will make it awfully difficult for the opposition.
Let's just pack here. You right, Davo?
That's as calm as you get. And Xerox crosses the line to win Heat 2. And I'm going to say that it's just about all over Red Rover for Prudential.
Yes, well, there's the gun, and they're through the line, and it's another comprehensive victory, and they're happy boys. That's 2 out of 2. Looks like they're getting into an almost unassailable position. Final results of race 2. Xerox won, Prudential 2nd. She got through Elabashe, which was a good effort, but she has to do more. Bank of New Zealand, a disappointing race. So after 2 heats of the Prudential Superannuation Challenge. Xerox in command. Bank of New Zealand challenging Prudential for second position. A really exciting manoeuvre by Elabash A at the start of that race wasn't quite enough because Xerox is sailing absolutely faultlessly, and of course they've got phenomenal boat speed. They've now got 2 out of 2 in this series. When we return tomorrow with race 3, Rob Brown and the boys on Prudential must win.